the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
You will be sure for Yamamuakwa Baba Nsem-Pii TV so Nsem-Pii. His Excellency, President of the Republic, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, and US Ambassador, and Boris Kujo, American actor, was founded or co-founder for Full Circle African Economic Conference, and various business leaders from the United States. His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, and media personnel ekushiae ene anopeya edidi nkomo na ye the speech of the American ambassador ye chichemu kakra beba ye wi na His Excellency President of the Republic speech bi akoma or Princeton University asoso na a church the yintia in Penifo way business leaders and over 100,000 visitors from the United States Omabe PM Ghana. Now called the speech of Ambassador Palmer, United States Ambassador to Ghana. Now say Oba Oko United States Mreweya Niamamu slow kakra because of the weather conditions, but Ghana because Ghana this time a time of tourism Haiti is peak. Now a time of parties, festivals and concerts. Now ade ababeka ho sese you know apart from parties, festivals and EGN concerts the Full Circle African Economic Conference. So we say a Full Circle African Economic Conference apart from Nigeria with the diaspora asaya concert ye break Guinness World Records you know nkofo bebre person money Africa business into omo to ade na yeso ye ton eniema mo no mo friend trade agreement na no na United States Ambassador for Ghana ka said last year for current president His Excellency Joe Biden of the United States ka said on African can sign deals in a total of 547 trade deals totaling $14.2 billion. Indeed, His Excellency President Addo Akufo-Addo said, we are moving beyond aid. Now we are dealing in trade. You know, yempese uchiche ade anase yebeba besresre ade yepese ye business. Indeed, from aid to trade, you know, and then I translate it to 547 trade deals after they have got to the tune of $14.2 billion. Now say one of the things that the one was out of that 14.2 Ghana recorded $3.7 billion out of 14.2 for the whole Africa. Ghana ketwa eshohono and $3.7 billion. In the Ghana and US ayonkofana dia eden emu pa na out of even that 3.7 billion Ghana for ton ade 2.7 nkwa ema United States yenye ton ade amom yenye ton out 2.7 the buy so mono ton ade ama mo ton ade 1 billion and now we are trying to trade surplus into a buy say yenye ton niema mo ema mo and no nya one because of the emergence of one district one factory ema edumadi ni edwadi akosropa inti I say out of that 100,000 visitors I catch a lot of attention even Google for baby office Accra Ghana na fintech innovators bebre ba enya wanwa say yet ni bebre say Elon Musk so eba we na a free division of His Excellency President Addo Akufo-Addo we kasa obi be kasa we MPPD into na kasa but then facts are then facts na eno na most of these innovators ni businessmen they say omo person we dem capitalize on the opportunities no obi be say adentin na nkofo bebre we etie His Excellency Addo Akufo-Addo echi edi nechi abagana bebre sa adentin na records no kososan and then ye ko speech bi o make here at Princeton University time no kwa bo chom say mombra na yebedi dwuma no speech no the way call no yebebo amamo sene ya mutia matiasie di ntia the likes of superstars, Acorn, business leaders, Elon Musk, omuna, person made on the PM, our Ghana.
It is a great honor for our community at Princeton here to have His Excellency the President of Ghana here today as a guest to share his views about the future of Africa and the future of our world. President Nana's argument today is that the future is Africa. The President sees education, in particular high school education, as the key to economic development, taking a leaf out of the playbook of the Asian tigers who invested heavily in human resources development. His objective is free education from preschool to and including high school for every Ghanaian. And one of the first laws he introduced after taking office was to make secondary schools free for all. While others see Africa's youthful population as a challenge and sometimes even a threat, right? President Nana regards a well-educated youth as a key to unlock a golden future for Africa. The future is Africa. Your Excellency, may I invite you to share with us some of your insights and wisdom.
My presence here completes my speaking engagements at the Big Three. After being at Harvard this year on the 29th of March, my 75th birthday, and last year at Yale on 27th September. I'm very fortunate and privileged to have this experience. The theme of this year's maiden conference, The Future is Africa, Translating Vision into Action, is most compelling as it speaks directly to the nature of the existential challenge confronting contemporary Africa. It is obvious that we need to get on with things that will change the Africa story. The daily grim stories of our young people trekking across the Sahara and dying from thirst or being washed up on the shores of the Mediterranean as they try to get into Europe. We cannot be proud when, according to the Brookings Institute, nearly 413 million of the population of sub-Saharan Africa lives in poverty, with some 140 million African youths being unemployed and 89 million children of school-going age out of school. Therefore comes as no surprise that our continent attracts the unfriendliest of adjectives. The irony is that Africa should not really be in this conundrum. There are good reasons why we should be able to get ourselves out of the hole and onto the path of hope and prosperity. Indeed, as the theme rightly states, the future is African, and properly so. Firstly, Africa is endowed with tremendous natural resources. The continent is rich in resources that could form the base for processing industries and allied downstream manufacturing industries. According to the report of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, 8th African Development Forum, Africa ranks first or second in the world's reserves of bauxite, chromite, cobalt, industrial diamonds, lithium, manganese, phosphate rock, platinum group metals, soda ash, uranium, vermiculite, and zirconium. Indeed, 30% of the Earth's remaining minerals are to be found in Africa. We're also becoming an important player in the global production of oil and gas. Secondly, Africa has an abundance of land. She possesses over half of the world's uncultivated arable land. Sustained investment in Africa's agriculture, emphasizing the application of technology, especially digital technology, could yield enormous benefits for the African and global economies in the provision of foodstuffs and diversified agro-based economic activities. Food security for the African peoples would be assured, and the billions currently spent on the importation of food would be free to spend on the other sectors like the serious deficit in infrastructure. Thirdly, Africa's youthful and growing labor force. The The United Nations projects that by 2050, Africa's working population will be about a quarter of the world's population, and a third of the world's youth population, i.e. between the ages of 15 to 24 years, will be in Africa. The empowerment of this young population, with access to education and skills training, would constitute a very powerful tool for economic development in Africa and the world. Fourthly, as a result of growing industrialization and the emerging structural transformation of African economies, countries are becoming more involved in the high end of the global value chain, trading in both final and intermediate manufacturing products. Under these assumptions, by 2030, we will be talking of an African export market of some 3 trillion United States dollars. You do not need to be an optimist to acknowledge that Africa is where there is room for growth, and the future is indeed Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, the African Union's Agenda 2063, titled The Africa We Want, calls for an education and skills revolution to meet the human resource needs for inspiring Africa's socio-economic development. The African Union has quite correctly placed high premium on science, technology, innovation as critical ingredients to the achievement of Agenda 2063. The 21st century is the century of science and technology. African youth recognize that the mastery of digital technology is a necessary challenge for them to surmount if they are to survive in this competitive technological environment. They have embraced the use of technology in helping to create solutions for the challenges confronting our continent. Technology is what helps us to make the world truly a global village and enables once poor people to become prosperous and scale up the value of their economic activities. The provision of education for our young people should not become an ideological issue. We should never have to make a choice between basic education or higher education. We should never have to rely on the World Bank or any other institution to decide for us where the emphasis should be in our education needs. Education is the key to our development, and we must run our economies to be able to fund the education of our children. We should not get into arguments with so-called donor agencies about our priorities. We have to set our own priorities and accept that we should provide the funds to translate our plans into reality. That is why, despite the bleak economic situation my government inherited, we decided to implement immediately the pledge we had made about providing free senior high school education. The most dramatic aspect of its implementation has been that this year, the third year of the implementation of the policy, will witness enrollment of 1.2 million pupils in our high schools, the highest ever in our history. It has also meant that a third of our national budget is dedicated to education. We have good reasons to be proud of who we are and the beautiful continent that is ours. I hear a lot about the need to change our narrative and tell our own good stories. Ladies and gentlemen, as the saying goes, nothing succeeds as much as success. If we work at it, if we stop being beggars and spend Africa's monies inside the continent, we will develop, and Africa will not need to ask for respect from anyone. We will get the respect we deserve. There's a story I've been told about this university that I like, and which clearly illustrates the point. I understand that some 30 or so years ago, this university offered a course in Mandarin, and for years had virtually no takers. Today I'm told there is standing room only. And it is not because the course is any easier or the language any less difficult. It is because the position of China has changed. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, China was nowhere near where it is today. China does not ask anyone for respect now. She does not need to. She even has the muscle to engage in a trade war with the United States of America. We can make Africa the prosperous and joyful place it should be. we can get the respect we deserve. Our young people must see and feel the dividends of democratic development. Our success story and change narrative come with building economies that are not dependent on charity and handouts. Africa, I am confident, will be a wealthy and dynamic member of the global community, making her own unique contribution to the growth of world civilization. May God bless us all in Mother Africa and make her great and strong. Once again, many thanks for the invitation.